free.
I've had to go live with that. £2.6 million worth of what, Ian, did you say? In the
white powder. Is the term I'm going to insert. Talcum powder. Yes, the new DJI drone can drop approximately $2.6 million worth of white powder. It's going to be really popular in Mexico and places like that, isn't it? Because you ain't dropping that over a prison wall.
On the beaches of Australia.
What's the range again? Just remind me, how far can that thing go with 2 batteries?
It's not too
far. Depends on whether you want it to come back.
Yeah, and it does the dual linker with the OcuSync, so you can have a guy on the top of each side of the border. Sorry, I mean mountain.
Someone in France. What do you mean? Someone in France? Someone in.
It does the OcuSync handover as well. So yeah, you can have a guy either side of the Trump's fence. Sorry,
Dominic. Hello, Johnny. Hello, everyone. We started a few seconds early because Ian's going to add even more confusion. Oh, Ian with glasses. Professor Ian this evening.
Are those anamorphic?
Anamorphic, yeah. Ooh.
It's his disguise, so no one knows who he is.
Oh my word! I don't know what I've done with my glasses now.
It was Ian all along.
Yeah.
It'll carry a 30-kilo payload for 16 kilometers. That's plenty to get talcum powder across a border. I mean, across a fence or some form of boundary that you may be looking to move. Copious
part of the UK where it's not snowing, you can have some delivered.
Yeah, they're going to sell loads in Brazil and places.
Well, they're going to sell loads of anywhere because it's ready to go is $43,000, base price of $18,000 for a few bits. So it's wiped the floor and it beats the spec of Mana. It beats the spec of what's that big company with boxes? Wing. Amazon. That lot.
Oh yeah.
Beats Wing. It beats the spec of all of them. All of them.
You've got to consider still to fly these things about for delivery. You've got to go through the certification process. That's where the headache is.
You people in the rest of the world have got such narrow vision. You kind of think you're the USA and Europe think they're the only place on the planet.
I think we could get Hang to do the certification.
Colombia, I'm thinking.
Well, here's the thing, right? So we've over-regulated, right? We've made it stupidly complicated to fly a drone, right? And we're going to continue to do that. The rest of the world, as Gary says, the rest of the world, right? They're going to go, well, hey, and that's where the money's going to be made right there. They don't care about that.
At the same time, you've got to get balance because you're making that argument, but that's the exact argument that gets you some of the eVTOL flying crap that's whizzing about in places.
I've just seen an issue. It only does 8 kilometers in the single battery mode up to 40 kilos, but I think that's probably enough compared to the 16 kilometers on the dual battery. I don't know how wide the border is.
What will it take with the dual batteries then? Obviously,
30.
less the weight.
So probably about 2 million quid's worth.
Only 30. Remember, so that's 16 kilometers. That's very handy because how far are we allowed to go here in South Africa? We're allowed to go 15 kilometers. So we got a kilometer in the bag. Now, 15 kilometers, a lot of people in the rest of the world will say that's not very far. But if you're doing a survey, 15 Ks that way and 15 Ks that way, you've got a 30K radius, 30K circumference circle. That's a huge area. And that's legal.
And they're going to sell a lot of these. When I saw it, I was like, yeah, they're going to sell a lot of these to drug barons and criminals, let alone all of the genuine use cases. You're going to see these pitching up on the back of pickup trucks in the south of Mexico before you know it.
But let's give it another little bit of context. I'm sorry I'm a bit ranty, but I was speaking to a farmer's school open today, or open day for school. One of the parents farmer speaks to him. He says, Gary, I'm not going to buy the Agris 40. I'm waiting for the 60 because 60 kilos starts to be a useful amount of spray for me. And he's going to buy the 60 kilo one that's coming. So people saying, oh, it's too big. People are having this, people are having this. That's a farmer in a small town in South Africa knows the crop spraying drone he wants. He doesn't know it. Well, he's looked at brochures, but he didn't know anything about drones, but he knows that he wants that product and he can use it on his farm. For a long time, I said that 50 kilos was going to be the delivery drone sweet spot. And I still think it will be. Anything less than that is playing. Anything above 100 kilos, and you're beginning to get into manned aircraft territory for certification. But DJI, I think, have pitched this one perfectly. Absolutely. I'll stop ranting now.
Of Kentucky Fried, isn't it?
Well,
I have no idea. It could be.
Well, here's where it's going to really win. So any disaster, like the Red Cross or any of them that work overseas, right now, they should be buying those. Now, we said 16 kilometers there and back, or 8 kilometers out there, 8 kilometers back, whatever. In a disaster zone where you've got villages that you can't cross the river, you can't.
Exactly. It's 100 meters. No,
yeah,
it's 100 meters.
And it can do that all day for you. That all of a sudden is a massive life-saving aircraft. Small tropical islands where they are only 4 or 5 kilometers apart, they have a disaster. If they've got a load of those, they can quite easily set up to do hopping then across the islands for all kinds of things. And of course, the regulations there, they're not over-regulated. They won't have all the hassle. It's going to be help and save lives. And it's just, it'll just work. It's going to be a great workose for a lot of things.
Come emergency, that all goes out the window. The only thing you've got to be able to take with you is your 600 kVA generator to charge the batteries up. That'll be the only downside.
In that scenario, you are going to, as you say, disaster recovery and all of this. You're going to be dropping food packages, water. That. There is an out-the-box. It's what DJI do best: a turnkey solution, which we've not had in this market before. You're going to be able to get it off the shelf. How much do you say, Gary? 40,000 quid.
40. The fully equipped one's 43. The base price for the airframe's 18.
People will take them. Charities will take them in tens. Do you know what I mean? They'll be blowing 100. We'll take 100 of them, and we'll be delivering.
I know of a delivery drone trial on Lake Victoria, a trial that never flew. The trial was across a 1 kilometer distance, and the American company that went to do that trial screwed $975,000 out of the charity that wanted to run the trial, and they never flew it, and that became $975,000.
But it won't be a charity that gets US federal funding, will it?
It wasn't a US charity, no. No, better not say anymore. But so, yeah, to buy those, and the other thing, I mean, what I said before Christmas, did nobody read it when I announced it in China in November? That's what's also surprised me. People saying, "Look at this thing." It's like it's not news, but it's like November. But it's got I like the look down camera business that it's got for then you can mark where the delivery is and it just cracks on with it.
It's got radar. It's got radar for avoiding the falling door plugs from Max 9 airline.
Max 9. Oh, but that, I mean, we do need to get onto that a little bit more because that's just horrendous how that's unpacking. But let's rant on about this flycart for a few seconds more before we move the rant, if we can. I mean, should we watch the video? I've got the video here. Let's watch the video.
It's not a small thing, is it? Let's be honest. But it is, like you say, and who can build something like that for the price and integrate it so well?
Difficult.
It looks like a man. No, it's just pack horses. It's not a drone.
This is the thing, mind. If you know what DJI are doing, look at the solar panels. Leveraging everything they've already
Introducing
got.
DJI
there's nothing new here other than
an aerial delivery drone.
It's a chili bin with propellers.
Flycart 30 is designed for efficient.
I did like the grappling hook option as well.
Max payload of 30 kilograms.
I think that's a
batteries.
delivery range of again. That's it. Only needs to get over a river. Well, it only needs to go from the truck to the hill with a panel. You know,
I've heard that voice before on the narration.
Geography.
This is Gary, those guys.
These
are the ex-Army SEALs, isn't it?
And handles difficult.
It's not a SEAL.
No, I mean the narration. Isn't it those guys that left DJI?
Two payload configurations.
How far are the oil rigs offshore in the Scotland End, Gary?
Don't know. We'll have to look at the map in a second.
Because you can see just constant back and forth for things like that, isn't it? Do you know what I mean?
Orkney Islands, it's perfect for hopping across the islands.
Switch to the winch system if the drone's intended delivery destination.
I was impressed with the winch.
Safe landing site. Once the drone arrives at the destination, select the drop.
Obviously, no compass
projection. A single tap automatically lowers the payload. When the payload touches down,
come on, who amongst us does not want one of these now?
I want it.
Come on, we all want one.
The system intelligently senses the payload and adjusts attitude quickly.
Hands up, all the first person to put an underslung load under a multi-rotor.
Even for long-range tasks,
Flycart solar panels on that hill. It's a solar-powered hill. It's so cool.
Yeah.
A 20-kilometer DJI O3 transmission, coupled with 4G enhanced transmission and an FPV gimbal camera, ensure clear and stable live feeds under various operational scenarios. Flycart 30 also supports dual operator mode for one drone. Pilots in 2 different locations can transfer control of the drone
either side of the border,
extending the operating range even further. The aircraft is equipped with front and rear active phased array radars and a dual binocular vision system designed to accurately sense terrain with multi-directional obstacle sensing in various weather conditions, day or night. Its dual battery system features multi-level redundancy.
Wonder what those batteries cost.
I was going to say, I bet then.
Have very big batteries,
operations.
Yeah.
How are you
taking those on an airplane?
I think they're very similar to the grass batteries, actually. I wonder if it's the same one.
They probably are.
The DJI Pilot 2 app introduces brand new functions.
I love how even these days DJI never does a parachute video. We just see it hit the ground
and record flight routes, enabling automatic repeat flights for improved safety and efficiency. The newly launched cloud platform, DJI Delivery Hub, offers a 2.5D base map and facilitates efficient operation planning, full operation status monitoring, and centralized team resource management. Flycart 30 provides a comprehensive airborne delivery solution.
They've floored a lot of the other solutions.
I don't like that the props are a view of the FPV camera, though. That would be distracting.
Into a new era of
yes, the footage, Bruce, is going to be
especially when you're dark in buildings.
Thing is, you think about this, what I was saying earlier, talking about moving things over borders and stuff. You're never going to detect. You think with long stretches of places, this is going to change the game of smuggling, transferring of goods across borders and everything, because you're never going to detect this. You know, cars, vehicles and everything were always limited to certain paths across. Humans have to find ways through. Boats go around. You know, this is going to be under the radar, low-level flight.
No, it'll have remote ID. With remote ID, none of these things will happen. It stops all these bad things from happening. Bad actors will just go, no, it's got remote ID. We're not going there. We're going to go and give money to a charity instead.
But I think this rather speaks to Ian's frame of mind. He goes straight for the nefarious use case, whereas Mark went straight for humanitarian rescuing kids and children over the river. Yeah,
transporting body parts and talcum powder. Can you fit a human head in it? The box is big enough, isn't it?
Well, you should get one of you should make a mock-up of the box with your huge 3D printer that you've got, then make a head and see if it fits.
Have you read the FAQ? It's probably in the FAQ. They'll tell you.
Thinking about it,
can it carry a human?
It could carry a box of incident reports to the CAA.
It could, but I don't think it has enough capacity to carry the total number of incident reports. Oh, but no, if you find a way of redacting incident reports from the AIB's thing, then there's not so many to carry. that'll be what you need to do. Ian works at the CAA. The CAA don't look at it like that. He generates more paperwork than they do. Yeah, well, let's go with the let's head off to that Boeing first before we return back to Ian and Foyer's Mini. I've forgotten the name. Is it Spirit? No, that was the airline. Well, there's a company, isn't there, that's making the fuselages for them, and they are leaving fuselage factory missing nuts and bolts and various bits. One of them was missing a quite a big bit of the pressurization. How is that
I've
allowed
not caught up on it this week. So what's the news been then, Gary? Because the last I heard, obviously, there was other planes found with issues, but they weren't really said to what they were. So
keep in mind, Gary, with him not listening to the news, you can make anything up now.
Oh yeah, but I do anyway. Hello there, Louis. We'll get on to Gatwick in a second for you, Louis. Don't worry. The return use the DJI to return the missing nuts and bolts. So Boeing outsourced the manufacture of the fuselages to another company.
The full fuselage is outsourced.
Okay, fuselage, yeah.
It is a company owned.
Is it a Boeing company? Or Bruce probably knows more.
Yeah.
This is a typical American way they set up their businesses in corpse of corpse. Yeah, okay.
And I suppose it separates the bits of blame to bits so you can sack.
Well, it's a different name that they can basically end overnight if there's a bad accident and it's not Boeing as such. Yeah,
I think the amount of work, I've forgotten the exact phrase for it, but there's uncompleted work. So when it gets handed over to Boeing, there's a number of if it has a number of faults that need to be corrected, then they say you're being very bad, it's very naughty, and that's where they're at. But they've been at that for a long time with this company. It's just about every single airframe they've sent them has had massive defects in it, and they've had to rectify them, as I say, including a bit of the actual pressurization section of one of them, and it is very likely that the bolts weren't fitted to that door. It's very likely. That's how bad it is.
That's what they now think the actual cause was. So it was sitting there latched, but without the bolts in place to stop it coming unlatched. What shocked me was the fact that aircraft had 3 pressure warnings, and that whilst they'd changed the route, there was no one who sat and thought at the factory, should we just check the door plugs?
Yeah,
all the doors sealing okay. Yeah, should we? What else could cause it? Well, you got the plugs. Let's. Yeah.
Well, I suppose the trouble, and there's also some thought that it could have been the guys that installed the Wi-Fi, that they removed the door plugs and it goes exactly above where that was, and so they took the door out to do the fitting, and they stood on where they were doing, and they opened the door so they could fit it, so they could get out and get on top and fit it, and then shut the door. So there's some talk
ultimately
about
though,
that
Boeing has to sign off everything before it leaves the factory.
Absolutely,
external work and everything. So it's still the ball still rests in their court.
No, it doesn't. Boeing are just money. No, they don't. Remember, Boeing's so big that America can't afford for it to fail. The US government won't let Boeing fail, and B, it's money, and we know this because of the Air Max 8 accidents. We know it's money rules.
Having said that, they are looking at them closely now, aren't they? So they are taking it seriously, because ultimately their reputation's hit that much damage. They're just not going to get the sales, are they? So they have to do something anyway.
What reputation?
They're waiting on like 4,000 airframes, I think, that they've got to bang out of the factory.
It's the cheapest option for most airlines, because you don't have to retrain your pilots and things. So the cheapest always sells, and airlines will cast aside any thoughts of, it could damage our reputation, because it's all money. Bottom line, it's it's a competitive industry. Lots of profit to be made.
Yeah,
but it's just a beggar's belief that any of it's happening, really. And I think really the Boeing CEO should be put into prison until it's sorted out, and I bet it would get sorted out quite quickly then, because we all know the heads that are going to roll are going to be much further down. The heads that Ian's going to be delivering in his DJI Flycart 30 are going to be from much, much lower down in the food chain. It's not going to be one of the heads.
So this is now very much looking like QA issues, not a product fault. Do you know what I mean? The design is sound, everything is good. Someone forgot to bolt the front on, basically, or the side on.
Or they just removed the departments that go around checking these things are actually done correctly.
Yeah, that is what they've done. That is exactly what they've done. Yeah,
sounds to me like there's a few loose nuts in the boardroom.
It's interesting though, because I remember going to obviously we've got Triumph, who's a very big brand in the UK of motorcycles, and we're not talking aircraft, but a motorcycle can be a very dangerous piece of equipment if something goes wrong. And they had a couple of really bad failures in the early days of welding on frames where there was things went wrong, and they introduced a whole new way of checks. And I've had a couple of factory tours. What's really interesting is some really basic things, like the person whose job it is to say fit this part here, his job's also to check what the last person did is marked up and meets compliance as well. So you've got this constant chain of you're responsible for your bit, but you're also responsible for checking what he did. And then the next guy who fits the next part after you is responsible for checking what you did. And it's this constant evolution of independent checking with double marks. And if you buy a new motorbike these days, you'll see like these blue and pink marks all over the frame, the bolts, and what they are is what they use. Each person has a pen. The person who fits the part marks it blue. The person who checks the part marks it pink. And it's fail safe. Yet clearly there was no one's job here to go like this guy fits the bolts. But it does sound like you were saying earlier, a lot of people then mess with it after the initial fact. Seems to be the case.
Cool Cat's mentioning,
because that's I've had a couple of emails from people from various places saying this whole diversity thing is actually reducing the level of competence in.
But it's not. It's not only that. In Boeing's case, when COVID came through and everybody got shut down, the more experienced engineers got the bigger packages. And they went, and the older ones and they went, and so it's left them with a more smaller junior workforce that doesn't have the experience. And they didn't want them because the senior engineers were more expensive to keep hanging around. So they got rid of them, and easy wizzy, let's get busy. We come out the other side, and the experience
that's always happens with redundancy. It's a bit of it's kind of a bit of a false cost saving, as you suggest, because you end, it's not without consequences.
You never generally lose the people you want to lose in redundancy. You generally lose the people you really need to keep, but generally those people are the most expensive or the ones who are closest to the point of leaving the business, and it makes more sense.
Is this the group conversation of old blokes talking about why they shouldn't be fired? Yes. Is that what this is now?
We should be retained until at least 7.
It's going to turn into old folks grizzling about wokeness because, as I say, FAA's got this massive diversity. They've got to have a quota of African Americans, a quota of women, a quota of Hispanics. Everyone has to be evenly represented, not even as in ratio to the population. So they reckon a lot of the problems certainly in air traffic control are related to
I don't see how that causes a problem.
No,
because they're not chosen on competence. They're not chosen on competence. They're chosen on meeting a quota. So someone who might not be a top level performer, they get put in because you're the right color and the right race and the right gender and so forth. You can have the job. And did you see the CAA's tweet the other day? That they're giving staff these menopause jackets, so they can empathize with women who are going through the menopause because these jackets heat up and make them hot, give them a hot flush. And even the wording, they said, people who have menopause, not women, but people, like, do you have men don't have the same thing, do they? But it's all gender neutral language and it's all designed. How much money do they spend on these fancy jackets to make men empathize with women having menopause when their job is to make the airspace safe?
If they want to flush, they should just tell them to some freedom of information.
Oh no!
Police.
No!
I think there's a lot. Look, there's a lot of noise. The reality is, gender piece doesn't come. At the end of the day, this is training, and once it becomes training, it's QA. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter what the person does. If the processes are in place behind it to back it up, nothing should ever go wrong. So it doesn't matter, male, female. It doesn't matter. It's not important.
It's not important.
What's important is processes.
But we see the processes are not being followed because we're getting this. The outcome is not right, and they don't have enough people to put all the qualified people through. So they put people through who probably are not as well suited to the role. Ideally, a person should be chosen for the role solely on the basis of their competence and suitability for the role, not on the basis of anything else. But they are bringing those other factors in order to meet quotas, and that degrades the performance of the system as a whole. And we're seeing that with all these near misses at airports and things. All these aircraft just about landing on other aircraft.
There was another one. There was another one just now, wasn't it?
Japan, there was a collision on the tarmac.
No, there's another one now, isn't there?
Oh,
in the last hour or so. Yeah, there's another one. Hang on, I'm going to look. Talk amongst yourselves whilst I was just. I'll come back to. I saw the. I'm sure there was another one.
It should always be best person for the job. That's what it should always be. And that's no disrespect to anyone.
Absolutely. I mean, it should be gender. Should be gender agnostic.
It should just be. You've got to be a human being.
Exactly.
If you identify as a human being,
if you can train an ape to do it, and they do it better than the human. Put the damn ape in there. That's what I say.
Well, that's what AI is for. Very bored of that AI taking over the world thing. But John said shitification. I've got to get it in now. That was very good. So that was a good rant about things. I can't find that thing. Maybe I made it up. I want to talk to Ian about a radio thing in a minute about the bandit system.
Make it up because there's nothing on Twitter, and that's usually good, isn't it, for what's going on live?
It is. I saw something, but let's. Where was I going to go then? Not the bandit first. What were we nearly to? Oh, the other Ian, and freedom of information requests. You made a few more this week.
I've made that many. I don't even know what I've made anymore.
There was a friend of ours, rather opened, pulled a plaster off a wound. I can't think of whatever that analogy is, or actually kicked someone in the ghoulies, I suppose. And those people being people in the NPCC, because they are. And I think the thing that that they exposed that found. So that's the national. What is it? The National Police Chiefs Council in the UK. And what I didn't realise, and what it exposed to me, was that there's NPCC anti-drones and there's the NPCC drone unit, which is. See, did I get that right, Ian? You're looking at me as if I didn't get that right.
NPCC counter drones, and then there's NPCC drones. Although because it's NPCC, I assume that there's somebody above the two, so they're in parallel. But to me, I'm still a bit. I'll take away about Philip Rousey's LinkedIn post.
Yes. Yeah, I was. Yes.
So there was a post from a chap, and I think actually it was West Midlands Police who'd done the original post, but had tagged in somebody that's for the National Police Chiefs Council in the drones team. And then Philip said, "Oh, this is all great what you're doing, but it'd be nice if you'd stop all the negative stuff." At which point he said to Philip, "Well, we don't do any negative stuff." I don't know. I found that a little bit patronising because I can't believe anybody would be in this industry and not know all the negative stuff that's going on as well. Even if it's not you that's responsible for it, you'd think you'd have some awareness to immediately say, "Actually, no, it's not what it's another. It's another." What was the phrase they used? I'm trying to think. But it's not like department, is it? It's there's another word to use when you've got like business units in parallel. I'll come to me later. But basically, what they're saying is we're under NPCC, but we're kind of different. But it's not really good from the outside because all we see from the outside is NPCC, and it's kind of the way you separate up your units is it's kind of your decision, but it doesn't really negate the fact that you're on the police. And
well, you would think we'd, all of us together, if we were to go out into the world, would have an opinion, and we'd have a unified opinion. If we were going to make a point over here in an industry, it would be our company line. We'd toe the company line, and not just say, "Oh, no, marketing said this, and the other engineering said this, and their CEO said that," and the whole NPCC thing, and that's the police running drones, that's coppers on the street running drones, as it were, in the UK, confuses me, because you have the NPCC and then you have the NPAS, the National Police Air Service. And to me, as a layman, it makes sense that the people that fly the aircraft and the helicopters are also put in charge of running the drones, because they are aviation. I don't know. It just strikes me as the obvious thing to do, but
I think it isn't. My personal view is it should be under NPCC for the reasons you mentioned there. And I've also found a lot of people that have got GA experience, they're a lot more balanced and calm and common sense about the whole matter with drones. They fly about daily, and they know they never, barely ever see a drone. So now all this hysteria that's a narrative, they know what it really is. And I think when you're thinking about the sky and policing it, you should just be thinking about what's the correct asset to use for this task. If you're just looking after helicopters or you're just looking after drones, you're always fighting for that technology, and you're not thinking so impartially about it and just thinking, this is a task, what asset should I use?
The problem is, and this is the problem, the MPC or the police commission and the security services, all they care about is worst possibility outcome, right? They actually don't care about anything like that. They try to justify anything for that one incident, and that's it. They care about that one possible thing that could possibly maybe happen, but then you can't base your rules on that infinite thing that may possibly happen. It's like grid. You go, oh, we need grid for security. Well, no, it doesn't bring security, because a bad person wouldn't switch it on. Well, we'll put a law in so it's illegal to spoof that information then. Well, a bad person's going to do that anyway. So it completely negates all that. And actually what someone wants to do with a drone, if they wanted to carry something and do something, that is 400 times or 1,000 times more illegal to even own it than what it is to own the drone or have it. So it's crazy. And the sad thing is, and this is, I hate saying this bit, it's just easier to use a van or a car or a rucksack.
Yeah, Gorilla Drones has put in the chat, actually, it's portfolio is the word to use, which again is, it's a bit of a wishy-washy word. What does it mean in your business hierarchy? And the thing that frustrates me with this is with the private sector head on, and I don't see why it should be any different in the public sector, is if I was in an organization that was getting a bad reputation from something that was being done by another division, I'd still take ownership of that. If I could see there was something wrong there, even if that isn't my job, I'd ping an email across to someone whose job it was over at that side and say, do you realize this is reflecting badly on our entire reputation? And here's a solution. Because one of the points and it shouldn't, for me, I've been looking at the data, as you know, and it's scandalous, really. We know the drone industry now, it's been there for over 10 years. And as we've covered in the past, and we shouldn't have had to be going over it again, the data that was there for the incident logs isn't crimes, and it's nowhere near crimes, and it should never have been used. But it's the fact that now I've dug into it and people are replying back, what I said to the NPCC, how did you compile this figure? And they give me all this just wishy-washy jargon, national reporting standard or something. It didn't mean anything. I've quickly found out it didn't mean anything, because I've got like Manchester Force, Greater Manchester Force say, well, this don't mean no, you've got to give us a criteria and a search and whatever. So I went back and they said, basically, we just do a free text search for the word drone. So free text search. That's what you're doing. Surely you're doing something more. Go on, Mark.
I was going to say, and what's really interesting, and this comes from your thing, and this is what's really crazy and really batshit crazy, is when someone called up and logged a legal call with the police, they could have given it a specific incident reference number, as in like code 49, which just means legal drone operators.
Yeah, there's an opening. What I found out since is they've got the funny thing with this is there isn't just one incident system for the forces. They've got different ones. So there's one called Storm, there's one called CAD, there's one called ICAD, and there may be others out there. So they've got a whole bunch of different systems with different forces. But they've got what you can do is you can do a national standard. You say you've got an opening incident code and a closing one. So you could say it's a road traffic accident and then that somebody was injured. I think you can put that level of detail on it. But I've only found this out from having to go through the process. But then what that actually means is that we don't have to even be in this position. And the police know that we don't have to be in this position. And these people that are throwing these stats at us knew all along. They could have set a national standard. And the irony is, this is the whole point of the National Police Chiefs Council. They're there to set the national policy and to clean up stuff like rubbish data. So this kind of crap doesn't happen. So that's their freaking job. So it's like, and then it's like a lack of ownership. Well, it's not my portfolio. Why doesn't somebody just take some ownership and sort it out? So basically what they could have done was they could say, as Mark was getting to, you could have a code that says, this is just a legal drone flight. This is someone calling in to give you the information. And you can have a separate one that says, this is a police officer calling in with legal drone flight. Because when it turns out now what they're doing is, a lot of police forces have been told that pilots have got to call up and log every single mission they're doing with a drone. So now you've got forces that were once logging 100 or so drone incidents. They're now logging up 2,000. And but we're doing all our police things in it now. So you've got the incident system actually being a police logging system as well now. And there's no coding to separate any of it apart. And I think the sad thing with this, it means either people just don't care and there's no ownership at all, or even worse, that this has been done deliberately, that people have known it's crap and they've kept it crap so they can weaponize it.
There is the third option, of course. The NPCC are incompetent. The actual third option is, and that's harsh, but it's incompetent.
Well,
those two things, we know those two things can be done. So as Ian said, we know that number two, now all the police are logging those numbers. So next year, if the numbers go through the roof, and we can actually go, well, you had a solution. You could have done this. You're actually not fit for purpose. They're actually...
no, what we do know the NPCC is in consultation with Bazinga and Mozilla, whatever it is, for counter UAS systems. They are in talks with companies advising them to buy counter UAS systems. So they need those numbers. They need the numbers to go up to just justify it. There's a chap down in Devon. You responded as well on Facebook. You know, he says he rings the police to notify them of his flight because it's the right thing to do, which I can't argue with if anybody that thinks that and thinks it's the right thing to do. Then a lady in the village, it's a long way from Exeter Airport, rings Exeter Airport and says, there's a drone flying here, you need to come and do something about it. And out come the police. So that's two. His one flight is two, and Bobu Fujitsu will work on the system. That is this whole post office thing, and that's why we had that bloke to come on to talk to us. Couldn't have come at a better time for us, really, to make the point. It's a terrible thing for the post office people. I'm not saying it's not a good thing. However you look at it, it's not a good thing, but it's a good thing for us because we can point to it and point to it hard and say, look what goes wrong with computer systems. So that person in Exeter, that's now two incidents. That one legal flight, which the chat reported, is two incidents.
And the worst thing is, and this is the bit that's going to get everyone, and this is the one that could really bite a lot of people. So when these new instant fines come out that we can get, the absolute worst bit that's going to become is the computer is always right, by the way. The reason why people got punished by the post office so harshly was that in 1999, a law came out and it clearly states that the computer is right. If the computer is working correctly, then you, the human, are instantly guilty. And that is a major thing. That law, until it's rewritten, is actually one of the scariest laws in the UK. And the post office scandal has shown that.
But let's not forget also the post office told pretty much all of them you're the only person this has happened to. This doesn't happen to anybody else. They lied to him directly and had jackbooted sort of barristers going around frightening people to get their money back. So it took many. There's many parts of that to tango. Yes, that the computer's always right thing is a problem, but it was the actions. So I don't know how to put this without being sued. I wouldn't put it past some organizations to behave in a similar manner with data. And I think we've already seen some organizations using data. What do they say about 99.7% of all stats are made true, or whatever it is, or made up, or whatever that phrase is? I think we could see it. So if you're using data to justify stuff, you better hope that Ian's not going to be there to check it, because someone's got to check it.
And that's why he's doing. And what's vitally important about the post office thing that made people don't understand is the post office actually prosecutes. The post office had the power to prosecute, which is a scary bit. And we've got to watch out, because if we get these instant fines, and let's say they farm that out to a third party,
of course they will.
That is really dangerous ground for all of us.
Now, with this one, Gary, you can just scroll down a bit. It's not an attachment; they put it in the text. But this one got me with it. They just put in a couple of examples. Keep going down. So I just asked for the first 10 from the incident logs, but this is just to give people an idea of what police forces are logging at the moment.
Look at that, yeah.
So first one, we've got 2 males have hopped the school fence looking for a drone. Well, really, it's not crime. Someone's innocently flying a drone around. It's malfunction or come down, and they're just getting it back. Right, you got this one here. A commercial pilot has had the car broken into. Is it? Or near the door. So it's been left out. Oh yeah, near the door of the car, doesn't it? So yeah, it must be near the car, and they've taken the drone and the wallet away. So that's a theft. And again, this is going down as a drone crime. No, this is a good one. We've got the Coast Guard. So here we've got some sort of search and rescue, and this has gone down as 2 incidents against drones. So we've got here, see if saying to the Coast Guard, can you get someone to bring along a drone? But the Coast Guard, there's actually one further down, which is the Coast Guard. But here, the Coast Guard is saying, can you just make sure the drone is suitable? I think for whoever's bringing it along, maybe some sorts of search and rescue that are bringing it along to assist the Coast Guard. So let's see what the next one is. Most of the stuff is just people seeing a drone. So there's not necessarily any crime being committed. It's just this programmed in with the press, a negative, oh, it's drone, it's got to be something bad. So you see something there. Even this one doesn't even know whether it's a drone or an aircraft. So it's a small aircraft or a drone, but it's in the sky. So I must have to call the police. Next
there it is again. A coast. That's the next one, and that's counts for midnight. But this Coast Guard. So that's a search and rescue call. So the Coast Guard and the police are liaising about something, and they're mentioning the word drone, and that's enough to bring it up, and that's potentially rescuing somebody.
And this is kind of scandalous on how the NPCC has put these numbers together, or DFT.
Yeah.
Or whatever. It is scandalous. It really is. I mean, yeah.
There's someone reporting it, and then there's air traffic control. Okay, so yeah, so you can see, dear viewers, that Ian is uncovering a lot of stuff. And how many forces so far has it been, Ian?
I've asked to ask 40. There's about 40 odd when it comes in. Let's have a look. The nice
but how many have come in?
So there's 44 in total. But the nice thing is, if you use what do they know, and you get the pro account, you can do a freedom of information against numerous entities in one go. So you can do like all the police forces, and then it gives you a little summary. And I'm just going to see what it says. So I've got 24 that haven't answered. Only 13 have come back, and so I've got 6 where I'm toing and froing at the minute.
So you must have like a frequent flyer card or something like that with this, or some other sort of gold status with the FOIA people.
By the time this is finished, I'm going to be past 200, which is pretty mental. The interesting thing with this as well is I have asked for fireworks for.
Yes, that was back up here, wasn't it? Sorry, I went away from it.
So you can see here. So we've got here 1,000.
77.
Over 1,000. It's not, it's heading towards 1,100 fireworks. And if you scroll back up, what was the drone one again? It was nowhere near that. And this is what should have been done as well.
350.
So you're looking at 3 times. Is it 3 times as many? It is, isn't it? Or just short of incidents with fireworks. If you're ever going to use figures like this, I think it's only fair that you take something that's considered an antisocial thing, is considered relatively trivial, and then you can base it, because you think about it with fireworks.
You are going to be red carded for your common sense.
It should only be a crime with the police if it's after 11 p.m. anyway. So we're limiting this to a few hours a night. This should only be going off at very certain times of the year. So it's not like they go up every day. It shouldn't be up every day. There's a few sitting like Bradford, because it annoys me that they're quite regular. But this is the thing. The government say there is no justification at all for doing anything with fireworks. It's trivial. So how could we have drones that are getting so fewer impact on the criminal justice system, and then say we want to spend tens of millions of pounds on all this fancy stuff that isn't needed, and we want you to pay for it?
Yeah. And remember, it's all about that one thing that they fear. It's all down to that one thing.
But the thing that gets me with that, Mark, that frustrates me with it, is the one thing where we have seen a terrorist in court where he was looking at using a drone, where he said, I can't do it. He was going to use fireworks. He was going to use fireworks, the gunpowder out of fireworks, and put them in a car. So if you've got any argument for anything that needs this police hysteria, you can still say it's fireworks.
Yeah. I mean, I do wonder sometimes that these people that are trying to bring this stuff in, they really, I tell you, if they see some,
do have shares in counter UAS companies, do have friends and family that work for counter UAS companies, do have an interest in training, do many things they could be interested in.
I mean, today there was a thing, there was one of these government things today on these talks where they talk about drones and everything. It was on LinkedIn. I managed to get in last minute, and I only caught the back half of it. And you listen to these people talk who are experts, and it included the DFT and stuff. The best person to listen to was Richard, of course, because Richard from Altitude Angel, they're talking about BV loss, and of course the Skyway system from Altitude Angel is the best system. It's the best solution out there for us, because it means there's no changes for anyone, So Richard's stuff was good, but the others, it's like scary. They want to bring councils in to create rules and stuff and help.
That is scary. That is scary, because they've never let councils create rules for airliners flying overhead small town, insert name here. And that's the urban air mobility piece, the idea that, because councils, Oxford in particular, has already identified that taxis need a license to operate within the city bounds. And if you drive in, you need to pay your money to Oxford, and Oxford's already identified, oh, bloody hell, we don't want these things flying in all over town, and we're not getting any of it. And they were proposing, if you cross different roads, and that's when the payment starts. So they want systems to start the meter running when the urban air mobility vehicle crosses thing. Look, I mean, we're going to
Well, on about drones. So if a drone is carrying a certain payload,
delivery drones.
Yeah, delivery drones.
It's back to Ian's. Well, I've forgotten what we called his drug mule copter, but we're back to his drug mule copter there. But yeah, they want payment for that.
Well, they want residents to say yes or no. They want residents.
That's easy. They'll say no. That's just not going to be a very long conversation, that is it? But it doesn't. We know that doesn't make sense in a lot of use cases. Now, I wanted to ask about, and I've forgotten the name of that radio system. Is the other Ian in his room? What is the name of the radio system I've forgotten, and why doesn't
you're talking about Express LRS?
Express LRS and the latest LoRa Bandit, is it?
Yeah. Well, what you're talking about is a feature that comes in Express LRS, so it's not specific to the Bandit series. It'll be available in the 2.4 gigs models, but it basically, instead of it being an RC control link, it turns it to a point-to-point radio link, more like the RF 900 or the RFD 900 radios. Obviously, it's coming in quite a bit cheaper than them because you can basically use a receiver and an Express LRS transmitter, or two receivers or two transmitters, depending on what you want to do. And it turns it into a data tunnel between the two parts. And it's available to support Mavlink, which is good, but it is limited compared to some of the other systems, especially with the data rates, because Express LRS is a LoRa-based system, and as such, you're chirping data, not tunneling it like you're doing with the other systems. Now, I'm just trying to find a message I had, because I did write up what the data rates were on this. Because it is quite interesting. Now, I do know the team is still working on the software. I haven't fully tried it myself with regards to doing it as a sort of set of Mavlink's radios. I know one of the big problems they are facing is the sheer amount of data ArduPilot requires on ground station connection. I read it was 50 megabytes of data now, with all of the Pram downloads and everything.
I thought they were going to put in a flag that says "Don't bother doing the Prams." Now
it could be, and this is where you have two separate open source projects doing their own thing, and that could be where there are issues coming up. I'm just trying to find what the data rate was on it. I have posted it somewhere, and I thought I saved it because it was interesting, if you get my meaning.
Because there's a lot of potential in these LoRa radios. For just sending "I'm still alive" messages, and enough to have some correction data going away. Because people are claiming some pretty far distances with the 500. It's only 500 milliwatts, I think, isn't it? This.
It can go, the transmitters can go 1 watt. There's you've got to take it in with Express LRS. So you've got two sides. You've got the software, which will run on any compatible hardware. So it then comes down to what hardware people want to make. So we're not limited by like what TBS would do with Crossfire and things like this. So at the moment, the maximum is 1 watt. So you can have a watt each way. If you use two transmitters and put them in the mode, you can have up to 1 watt each way, which is similar to the RF design radios. They're also working on a version of Mavlink pass-through, which will do the control and Mavlink at the same time. So instead of having two separate links, you'll have a single data link that goes between the two. And whilst we have seen something similar to this on the RF design radios, the RC control was over Mavlink, not separate. So what it wasn't doing was tunneling the two together and tunneling them back out to say Crossfire or CRFS and the data link. You were actually controlling the aircraft via Mavlink joystick functionality. So there's some interesting stuff on it, but it is highly limited on the data rates, and I'm just trying to find it here.
I'm not going to stop typing to Neil in response. No, you couldn't book airspace with the corridor idea. The thing is, as an end user, you you wouldn't, as a private user, a modeler in the field, someone flying a hot air balloon, someone flying a helicopter, if it knows about you, that's lovely. You can choose to say, hey, I'm here doing this, or you can do nothing at all, and it will see you, and it will route stuff out of the way of you. But the stuff in the corridor that's flying commercially, well, then that's between you and Altitude Angel. I've no idea what they're going to charge for that. But the point is that the overarching point is other airspace users, doesn't matter. You're not being, unlike the Morecambe Bay thing where they had to have temporary danger area, all these things where they're having temporary danger areas, and it's holding up a lot of airspace and a lot of other users.
Right. Yeah, no, I've just found it now. So in theory, the RFD modems can do 250 kilobytes a second. That's what the RFD 900s can do. These are limited to 2.5K. So it is dramatically less data. What this is more about is having a very bare bone, long range telemetry chirping link. What I don't know is yet, and this is something I need to investigate, is how we create that in ArduPilot. I would guess the standard telemetry link is quite heavy as it stands, because you know what it's like. Even when you connect over radios, it still pungs all the params. I think over USB, someone said there was like 50 megabits of data. I don't think that's the case over the RFD design radios.
We'll see. Louis saying, look, you can always define.
Yeah, you can always define. Yeah,
and it should be possible to compress the params data by a lot. Should be.
This is where something like this is going to be beneficial. If you really don't want the param data, what you want is the telemetry only data. This isn't about configuration. This is about being able to send. The problem without having the param data is you need it as a baseline. So if you want to send a mission, you need to know what the current status is of various things. This is the problem with low packet rate radios, but what you'll benefit from is the range.
The range,
and it's 6.5 to sort of that.
And Neil, we're talking about, well, we're really well, but in particular, my mate, who I'm asking this question for, we're talking about areas where there isn't 5G, 3G, 2G, 1G, or half a G, even no Gs. There are no Gs at all. So yeah, no communication of that sort.
I think probably today the RF design radios are the best option for most. This is a lower cost, long range solution. I think what I need to do is have a look at how easy it is, Louis, to define what we want on the link. You know, are we talking, is that developer speak or is that user speak, if you know what I mean? Because you can have developer speak saying, yeah, you can turn on and off what you want if you can code in C++. Or is that go into here and click, and it user defines.
Okay. I also begs the question, you know, has there been a conversation about a shortened data set that's just ops normal I'm alive data set as the things going around on a mission? And by the way, can you change this? Can you change that? But only small things, because as long as you've planned your mission okay, there should only be a few actions that you need to take when the machine's actually in the air. And if that's all that's coming back,
I think this is the ExpressRS team are generally all about long range. This isn't about sending loads of different missions over 4 kilometers. This is about having a data link that is providing you battery info, telemetry info for where the aircraft is. Very minimal basic data in an ultra lightweight link, which is going to give you the best possible range. And that, what it's not really designed for, and I probably didn't explain this very well in that video, is, programming it so it can go and send your aircraft around the field like you do with RF design radios or the 433 radios. They just have a lot more data rate.
But it does drop down as you get further away. I was just wondering also if QGC's worth a look. So Luke tried QGC.
I absolutely hate Q ground control with a passion, and I would like to burn it with fire. Is how far I hate Q ground control.
And that's a flipping Welsh reaction, isn't it? What do you think it's English or something? Do you think it's bought a cottage in North Wales? Is that what it is?
It is from a user. People say Mission Planner is difficult to use, right? At least Mission Planner is semi-logical. Q Ground Control opens up to a window that makes no sense at all. You click on a logo on the side that if it's connected, it might show you some stuff, but if it's not connected, it won't. And you sit there looking at the map going, well, what do I do next? The UI is horrible. Fix it. There you go. That's a message to the dev. That's me in his popular books. I don't mind Q Ground Control to use when it works, but compared to Mission Planner is way too complicated. And I love Michael. We all love Michael. He is unbelievable in what he does, and he's helping me out with some stuff right now. But it will melt your face if you're not careful. It is. But
is that all? Is that which is that? Alt O or Alt F for melting face? Alt F.
It'll be one of them.
Yeah.
Every time he says that, it's like, "I'll go into this menu, control this," and you're like, "I didn't even know that was there." It's like, yeah, it's another one. I
control and then stand on your head. Yes.
Yeah. I love it, but they're both what I don't think we quite have yet is a fairly straightforward ground station for either of them.
It's like that, and I can't remember now. It's like that fantastic radio menu that's there for expected radio range. You put it in, and it gives you your footprint and all that. Did you know that?
Well, I can't remember all of the ones. You've got the one for the radar. So if you've got a LiDAR on board, you can press that, and it'll bring up the LiDAR display. You've got all sorts of options, and I can use Mission Plan all day. I love it. It just works for me. But you show it to a new user, and they're just like, "Pram? What does what's a pram?" The worst thing that they need to do is ban the word EKF. No error should ever start for the user with the words EKF because no one knows what it means.
Yes. I'm going to put a screen up here. I'm glad you.
Sorry, that's
led
me
into
ranting
that.
About.
No. I'm glad you led in with no one knows what it means because I'm gonna. You do you? Well, yes. All right. Well, do we know what this means? No, this, not that. Forget that. This. What does
extended
that
carbon
mean?
Filter in it?
Not sure. Yeah, that is. But
I think this is something with LiDAR on. Integrated and not hanging below it. I thought
it was a new widescreen monitor.
No, I think this is a probably enterprise model with LiDAR fully integrated into the aircraft.
The word shaping's the clue anyway, isn't it? Capture the shape of something.
Which you would need LiDAR.
Well,
because if you think about it, DJI has that partnership with that company who makes the LiDARs in China, but they've never fully integrated them into their system. Either LiDAR or radar. They have been using a lot more radar on their stuff as well recently.
Yes, exactly.
Did you also notice they're releasing an audio product as well, a pro audio product?
I did. They sent me some stuff for that, which I seem to have ignored. But yes, that's coming up on the 18th. What day is it today? Tomorrow. Oh, tomorrow. Xiaomi.
I think the drone bundle is well and truly. Have you got stuff you can't talk about yet that you can share with me?
No, I think you've probably received it as well. It's about the audio stuff. That's
I don't know. It ended. They don't talk to me anymore.
I suppose just a generic. Why am I getting that? I got a fantastic one today. What was it? Quick, find something else to talk about. I've got a fantastic press release today, and I thought, what the hell am I got?
I can answer one of the comments that was from earlier. A guy called John had asked if the word drone is mentioned more than once in log, does it count in more than once? No, it doesn't. It's just a hit against one log.
Oh, here's an embargoed one from Wing. Should we do that live? That's just arrived.
I've got something I can't talk about. Let's talk about it on a live stream.
Yeah, exactly. No one's here.
if their marketing crew had themselves together, they'd deliver that by drone, wouldn't they?
They would.
They wouldn't just email it to you.
Yeah, somebody
would. It's interesting that DJI seem to be diversifying, isn't it? If you look at that, I think that's LiDAR or radar. That to me, that's a proper mapping product with LiDAR or radar. They've been teasing some LiDAR stuff over the years with a third-party Chinese company, but not really integrating it into their products. I suspect it's an end model with radar, LiDAR built in that's going to map the world for you.
What's 9A?
Like
17th January. I want to give you a scoop. You give me a scoop a day late, lady. Anyway, what day is it today? It's the 17th. 17th, that's today, isn't
18th in New Zealand, so email it to me and I can tell you.
Oh, it's the 16th. Oh, it's the 16th in the rest of the world, isn't it? Oh, yeah, I can email it. That's definitely what we need to do in the future. Send it all on to you to post. Yeah, no, it's still the 16th in America, isn't it? So, hopefully. Then by the time it arrives, again, we'll send it. We'll get Bruce to play it. I barely figured out iNav. I thought, funny enough, Johnny, today I thought about having another look at iNav because apparently they've got lots of new features and stuff like that. So I thought maybe I should have a little look. But then I thought, no, maybe not.
I need to have a look at it myself, guy. It has come on dramatically. It has really come on dramatically. Even Betaflight has. We got people returning to home in Betaflight now. Full on and proper return to home.
What's sort of the lowest controller that
S405? You can go with the 405. The 405 is the best option.
Zoltan, I was here 5 years ago. It's predicted all the restrictions. Yeah. You let it happen. We did this. It was actually Zoltan. It was Bruce. It's the easiest thing we do.
Now. Sorry.
Yeah, no, it's Bruce's fault. So. All of it. Well, that's what it's like.
Though, as well.
Yeah.
Sorry. I'm on a delay.
It's all right, mate. It's what being in the Midlands is all about. See, back in the day, you always used to have a beer with you when you were in a hotel room for this. There's been so few occasions that you've come on with a beer, and so that was like, what did I got? I went off to look for the crazy one. I got a crazy one today.
Really see the proliferation now of the Chinese AT32 microcontroller as well. It's really starting to land in flight controllers and stuff. I don't think Philip will be using it. I think Philip's going to be very much STM32, but for the low end market, the AT32 is really beginning to get some £20 flight controllers now.
But that's been shown to have all sorts of stuff hidden in the silicon. There's cameras, all sorts of red cameras, everything, microphones, cameras, whole newspapers, everything.
Red.
Everything.
It talks to Chinese satellites directly.
Yeah. It's there's all sorts of flags going up for that. But yeah, it will go everywhere. That's for sure. There's no doubt about it. I can't remember the headline that I nearly sent it to you all today. It was so ridiculous. But now it's so far down the list I can't find it. And the nice lady from Wing, what I can tell you then is Wing's unveiling a new drone tomorrow. But I don't have the video of it yet. Right. I've ranted a little bit. Oh, what have you got there? What were you doing there, Bruce?
This is the new drone from Wing.
Oh, yeah. Oh, very good. Funny enough.
Market, drone deliveries, their specialty.
I've also got a delivery drone here, but it's the Rover version of the same thing. Yeah.
Slower, but more bangier.
Much bangier, yeah. No, so what else have we seen? This is the bit where Ian comes back with 30 different things. What else have we seen this week, chaps, before we go?
Oh, Mark might want to know about the job interview in New Zealand. You can get a job in New Zealand doing Blender stuff. It was on SA
That's
US
right.
News.
Yeah. It was, yeah. Did you like the picture I chose?
Yeah. It's very pretty, the pen, or whatever it was. Yeah,
creative.
Yes,
artists needed.
So I've sent my resume off, and as an example, I did a donut with icing and sprinkles in Blender, and I sent them that.
I love that. I love that tutorial, though. I love that he comes up with a new one every time Blender comes out. I think that's excellent. I really do.
I can't use Blender.
My lad can. My eldest can, so that's all right. I'm all right. Just get me eldest to do it. That's what they're for. Go on, Ian. What were you going to say? You started.
Yeah, well, I can't remember if we discussed it last week or not, or we forgot about it entirely. But it was just one that I thought was quite comical. That and it's not even new. I just stumbled across it because it was. I think we did mention it, but I'll mention it in case. But I just thought it was funny that the EASA are doing their drone impact study, and it's the same company that did the UK one. And although they're a huge company, I just thought it's kind of funny. But I read the document and it says, we're not going to do an engine impact test. We're going to ask Ashore for their data. And I thought, finally, the penny has dropped. Just ask Ashore. You'll get the data you need.
Yes, I'm just trying to pull up the Voyager lost contact. As I'm sure it has, because it must be a jolly long way away now. Oh no, 2nd date 2023. I haven't got any newer news on that, so obviously I'm not seeing that. That's yet to get around to South Africa.
There's something going on in space. I mean, that mission to the moon, it's come back and going to burn up in the atmosphere. That didn't do any good.
Sadly.
No.
Oh,
all right. Here we are. Good.
Did we mention the MPCC and the kinetic weapons last week? I can't remember.
Oh, well, the one we range out the sky.
Yes.
I remember I heard about it somewhere. I wasn't on the panel, but I watched the video, so maybe you did.
Oh, maybe we did then.
Yeah.
It was on Twitter, wasn't it? Yeah, it's on Twitter. That's right.
Yes, we because that was another thing you found out, Ian, wasn't it? And they've got those intelligent bullets and things like that. And they want permission to shoot stuff down, which begs the question: would they have the correct intelligence? Because how do you know a drone is a bad drone? Okay, there's going to be a few situations where it's obvious. Doesn't have remote ID. And there's I was trying to find it. I cannot remember his name because there's a bloke who's been dissing you on LinkedIn today, Bruce. But you're dissed across multiple platforms. I realise that. I think I've just remembered his name. But he mentioned your video about the hobby going wrong, and he is in Europe, and he said, "Look, it's been however many days it is, and nothing bad's happened." And I hope he remains right, but I can't help but think
it's a different situation because if you're always doing drone light shows, you're not the bloke that's in the middle of a rough estate in the UK doing a roof inspection. That's been reading the Daily Mail. I've heard of people that have, these are slightly bigger jobs, but still, where they're completely legal and they've had to have bodyguards. And this is before we've got round to having RID that says where you are. So it is a genuine concern for people. We don't all have the same use case, but not one person can have a use case and say my experience trumps all of yours. I mean, I know when what put me off flying, pre-Gatwick was the incidents with that. As I mentioned before, the first time I had a nasty encounter, I remember at Public, was when the BBC been going on for a week about Heathrow that was a plastic bag, as we all know. But they got in my face then, and so there are experiences, and we know, and we've had people on the show that have had bad experiences, and I know 2 operators that have had a real firearm fired at their drone. So there is a risk there, and everyone has a different experience of it. But
some bloke called Ian Hudson's coming to Bruce's defence here on the LinkedIn. Stephen, he's got very, very solid opinions as Stephen. Or not so.
The thing is, he won't have realised that the full, the fact that there's quite a bit to look at. You've got to look at the caps. You then got to look at the freedom of information as well and just see what has been going on and shaped it and who's influencing who. And then see the actual tenders that have gone out. So we know there's already been, money spent on a drone array. We know the Home Office is just way too keen. Oh, it's worth knowing, actually, I did Freedom of Information, the Home Office, and I asked them straight, I said, do you intend to fund RID or intend to fund the annual running costs? And you know what? They refused to answer. And if you refuse to answer, that means no. And they in fact, hid behind an exception never had before, which is it could reveal government policy, which even more kind of suggests, yes, we want to be doing this weird thing. We don't want to tell you about it. So I'm going to argue that, because given they've acknowledged they're involved in RID, I should be able to ask the simple question of, do you intend to fund it or not? So I'm not even asking who is funding it. I'm saying, are you going to? It should be fair enough to get a yes or no out of that. But I think I'm going to have a little bit of a fight.
Well, interestingly, the DFT today were on this call that I was on, and they did say RID was coming 2026. They didn't say who was funding it or anything else, but they did say, the person from the DFT did say, it's coming.
It didn't take them long to read all the responses to the consultation, then, did it?
Yeah, clearly not
really. I will add, they did say they've got to look at the consultation and see the feedback and this and the other. I think they're in for a nasty surprise when they get called out, because I think the modelling community at last has got up and said something. I do fear the drone community will be the lower numbers this time.
I don't know. Some of the BMFA members were happy with the BFMA's position, and that was a worry.
Well, the BMFA was still against RID.
Well,
yeah, but they weren't against it enough.
Yeah, I'm with Bruce on this, because what they said was, and I pointed this out to them, so I got into a little bit of grief from them. So I'm sorry to the BMFA, because they said I was scaremongering, because I said, hang on a minute. In that document, it clearly states that they don't want RID at model flying sites. However, they did not exclude all model flying sites, because if you read it correctly, they say, actually, depends where your site is. If it's in an area where we think it might be near a town or a village or, a certain area, you've not had RID for years, but actually, we're now going to make you have it for security reasons. So actually, it depends what club you're in, and it will be the death of some clubs, because there will be clubs where they've got members that are old. They're getting on and going, I can't afford to put a different unit in each drone, in each aircraft, and people will go, but it's only $50 or $100 for one unit. But if you go flying for the day as model flyers, and we all know this as model flyers, you don't take one aircraft to the field. I take like 4 or 5 if I go flying my planes. I'll take 5 planes, for example. You expect me to put a RID across different 5 aircraft, and I've got to CG it correctly, because if that RID is over 50 grams or 30 grams, I can't put it too far back. I can't put it too far forward. If it's an aerobatic plane, you just don't want it in the wrong place.
And you're talking £100 because it's network remote ID, not just Bluetooth.
Yeah,
Plus the data charges and all the other stuff you have to pay for. It is a big, huge, much worse than the American situation. Also, the CAA gets to decide what represents a model aircraft. They get to determine that. Traditional model aircraft. They might say anything with more than 2 propellers if it's not a Lancaster, or it's a drone. They don't know the difference anyway.
To change that, because I did pin them down on Freedom of Information and made them define a model aircraft versus a drone. But I'd be interested to see if they change that.
Avionics, every sorry, I'll stop in a second. Every module manufacturer sending me PRs now saying, hey, it's coming. So I think the FAA, in the background has nudged all the module makers to say, start reminding people it's 60 days. So we'll find out in America. We'll find out what they do.
America's crazy. The FAA put out a tweet this morning saying that the deadline's coming and you'll have to.
They have to. I didn't see that tweet, so they definitely have then. Yeah.
Okay. And as part of our compliance program, so I asked them, "Can you give us details of your compliance program?" Crickets chirping. That's a one-way street. They talk at people through Twitter. They don't interact. It's like it's a two-way street. Why don't you listen to what people say? But no, they only talk at people, and that's no way for a regulator to interact with the people they're regulating. That shows contempt.
Oh
well, we're going to see
another freedom of information, but I've never wanted to put a freedom of information asking about myself because I don't want to say what nasty words. might be written on an emails about it because I'm more sad. But my name was specifically mentioned in a police/CAA meeting this week.
It was,
yeah.
Was the word arrest mentioned?
No, there was concern about me putting up the freedom of information, showing that the stats that we used were, not the right ones. So just showing that the West, what was it? Was it? It was Nottinghamshire. It was Nottinghamshire, wasn't it? I put it straight out where they came back first and showed that a lot of the stuff wasn't drone crimes and they're logging their own flights and so on. So I don't really know the context exactly around that, other than it was discussed. So I have freedom of information that just so I can see the words, and hopefully they won't be too nasty.
But you're going to end up in like a freedom of information feedback loop if you're not careful. Just go around and like a perpetual motion machine, something like that. Just freedom, man.
Well, hopefully they'll realise they're being watched. They might suddenly realise they are.
That's all we can do, isn't it? We can just point it out to people, and that's all we've done, and that's why we've made so many friends at SS News because we keep doing that. We've not been wrong yet, but you don't make friends doing that. You do not make friends.
The thing about it was the Gatwick experience. For horrendous though it has been, it made me just know that I knew what to do, and I knew I had to do it quickly, because I just thought, we look back in time and think if we'd have known,
if we'd done that,
what we know now, with the freedom of information straight away, done all that, exposed it straight away. So as soon as this consultation come out, I thought, well, I've got to hit the ground running, and we've got to show it for what it is. And thankfully we've been able to do that. And I've noticed actually a lot of comments on social media with even the commercial operators. There are jokes, but NPCC being mentioned, CAA being mentioned, about statistics. People aren't impressed about it, and they're right not to be impressed about it.
Yeah. Oh, he's got his beer. No, that doesn't look like a beer. Look, we've been going on too long, an hour and 21 now. So, dear viewer, wherever you are in the world, thanks very much for putting up with us again. Look after yourselves. Have a wonderful week, and we'll see you again. 2100 GMT. Don't forget, this man here, he's got a Kickstarter for an aircraft, and it looks good. I'll let you find it. Find his channel. This is a channel worth watching. See everyone. See you next week. Take care. One click